Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to say hello and to let you know that I'm in Louisville, Kentucky right now with the situation going on with Judge Olu Stevens. Judge Olu Stevens is the African American judge who took the courageous stand to speak up against the use of all white juries. Which systematically convict African American defendants. There are numerous academic studies that basically show that the racial bias in jury selection, jury pools, uh, effectively is linked to the mass incarceration epidemic, where you just have millions of black people who just happen to end up going to prison. And this is something that's unacceptable. It's no different from groups of Nazis systematically sending Jews off to the concentration camps. We are the Jews, and unfortunately, white America has kind of become a lot like the Nazis were during World War II. The only difference is that this Holocaust is greater and has a greater scope and magnitude and impact than the original Holocaust. There have been far more people who've been killed by this. There have been far more people who've suffered from this. The torture is at a level that's virtually unprecedented in American history, at least, and maybe even world history. So, what I want to just give you a quick rundown. I got there and I got a chance to meet Judge Stevens' wife, who's a strong Spelman graduate, very strong black woman. I respect her a lot. Respect the family, and the rally went off without a hitch. It was really interesting. Looks like there's some interesting politics going on in my home city of Louisville right now with some stuff that went down with a methane plant or something. And me, I wasn't too interested in getting involved with all of that because I think that the issue at hand is what needs to be focused on. But at the same time, it seemed that everyone still came together to unanimously agree that they were not going to tolerate this kind of behavior in their city and in their state. And what I want people around the country and even around the world to really understand is that you need to center on what's happening in Louisville, Kentucky. What these really empowered people are doing right now by standing behind this black judge who's taking this courageous stand. You don't see judges do this kind of thing anywhere. I mean, go to any city around the world and you show me judges who are speaking up on this issue. If there is a judge, I need to know who they are so I can support them too, because you just don't see it. The only thing I can think of, the closest thing I can think of, is Professor Paul Butler at Georgetown University, who 20 years ago, up until this day, was talking about things like jury nullification, saying black people shouldn't even convict certain kinds of cases because these are built on almost making people into political prisoners. Because it's one thing if somebody commits a crime, they break the law, and they should get punished, maybe get fined, maybe get a couple years in prison. It's another thing when you give somebody 40, 50, 60 years in prison for something that didn't do tremendous harm to society. In fact, when you talk about, even if you talk about, say, what happened with drug dealers, which we all agree that selling drugs is a bad thing, two things that were interesting about the war on drugs, among many, is that one, the biggest kingpins were almost never got arrested. In fact, many of them were working with the police, working with the CIA. They would let the drugs get into the black community and then arrest all the black people. So effectively, what they were doing was creating their own economy. They were like, look, we're going to let the roaches in through the back door, and then we're going to come in and exterminate in the front door. So you're making money basically by creating a problem and then solving the problem. It happens all over the place. Corporate America does that. Corporate America will sell you food that's fatty and sugary and all that, and give you diabetes and all these health ailments, and then they'll sell you the cure, or not the cure, but sell you the treatment. Not even cure. They don't sell cures. They sell treatments to manage the disease so that they can make money over a long period of time. The other interesting thing about drug convictions and things like that is that as much as we know, the neighborhood drug dealer was somebody who definitely did some damage to the community. There's no question about it. They were complicit with white supremacy in terms of serving as a distribution channel to to sell the drugs in the community. Virtually unforgivable, even though it is forgivable in the sense that if you're 18 and you're selling drugs, I don't see a problem with you being out of prison by the time you're 28. Unless you murdered a bunch of people or did really, truly horrible things. I know some drug dealers who got 40, 50 years in prison. I feel like that's not good for society because when they have children, those children are growing up as lost children. Lost children are the ones who are more likely to end up in bad situations, making bad decisions, hurting other people because they're angry, they've been abandoned, they don't have parents, basically. So we got to really think about what this is doing to our society. But on the drug thing, what was the second point? Oh, there you go. The damage that was done by the local drug dealer doesn't even come close to the damage being done by the big drug dealers that exist today. For example, the family that makes that drug OxyContin, which is basically, low key heroin. That drug has killed a lot of people. It has addicted so many people. I mean, that drug is destructive. And you know what happened to that family? Did they get sent away to prison for being the biggest drug dealers maybe in the history of America? No, they're actually worth $14 billion. They're worth $14 billion. They're probably linked to the biggest, most powerful politicians in the country. So you got to ask yourself, is the persecution or prosecution of of a particular crime, or those who commit a crime, is it evenly distributed across society, or do we have certain people where we're more likely to pick them as bad people for doing the same things that other people do? You go to New York, for example, you get a whole lot of brothers in jail for, in all over the country, really, not just New York, a whole lot of brothers in jail for weed possession. Weed possession. Even though white men are making millions right now selling marijuana. You go down, but if you were to go down and do stop and frisk on, say, Wall Street, where those bankers, those millionaire bankers are roaming, you will find a whole lot of drugs, more destructive drugs, in a far higher quantity than that brother carrying a little nickel bag of weed. So remember that justice in America, the biggest problem with justice is that it's arbitrarily assessed. You pick some people and you say, "Oh yeah, well you did this. It was the same thing somebody else did, but we're going to give you time in prison, whereas this other person is going to get off." That's the fundamental issue. It's not about not punishing people when they do wrong. It's not about keeping all everybody on the street who should be in prison. Some people need to be put away for a while so they can learn a lesson or be taught a lesson or whatever. But it has to make sense. And right now, our justice system doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me, for example, that you might, let's say, for example, you might have someone who it runs a government grant and they misallocate the funds from the grant. And so they effectively get accused of taking money from the government. My belief is that if you took $20,000, or whatever that you and spent it on something you weren't supposed to spend it on, you should be forced to repay the money and then a penalty. So, I mean, and it could be a stiff penalty. You took 20,000, you pay back in 90, you pay back 100. I will be okay with that. But what's unfortunate is I've seen people go to prison for this for many years, taken away from their families, having their lives stolen. And my only conclusion is that they're making an example out of these people, and these are black people. In Chicago, I just spoke to a lady who was I mean, part of Chicago high society and everything. And in fact, I think she was friends with Michelle Obama, and she got caught up in some kind of grant and the grant situation and misallocation of funds. And next thing you know, she's off to prison for 8 years, away from her husband, away from her son. And I just couldn't understand how the world is made better with her in prison. I didn't get that part. I mean, I think that if she took some money, make her pay it back. Make her pay it back 3 times over. I'd rather see that than to see another person in prison, which is going to cost us money. And so a lot of times, a lot of this, justice stuff, the way it's done in America, is very, very arbitrary, very, very political. So let's not fall for the okey doke. Just understand, going back to Judge Olu Stevens, remember there aren't that many people who have the courage to stand up against the system, especially if they're in it. Bad things can happen to you beyond just losing your job. You lose your job, you lose your reputation, all your future opportunities. They might pin something on you. They might smear you. Drag your dirt out in public, make you look really bad, so they can focus more on discrediting you than actually solving the problem that you brought to the nation's attention. So what I've been telling people is, let's focus on the issue. Let's focus on the issue. Let's not go for any diversion tactics. We must focus on one fundamental fact, which is that white juries are statistically and undeniably proven to be far more likely to send black babies to prison. No, it's not going to work. I'm not gonna allow that, and I don't think you should either. So that's it. All right. So tonight I'm going to do my best to attend another rally here in Louisville at King Solomon Baptist Church at 1620 Anderson Street, and so it's at 7 p.m. From what I understand, and I just want to be supportive while I'm here. This has been just between you guys, between us. It's always crazy to come back home. I'm from Louisville, and so being back home is it's emotional for me. It's definitely makes you reflect a little bit. So that's what's on my mind. But anyway, I want to say also I want to say thank you. The funny thing is that I like to do a lot of the stuff I do online. I don't like to travel unless I have to, and I don't do very many media interviews anymore, just because I'm not patient with the racist media, and so when I go out and I see people, and they tell me that I've impacted their life in some way, I just can't. I have to tell you, that really affects me. That really touches me. This was a dream come true. When I was younger, I used to sit around when I was 24 years old, and I used to just think about stuff because it was my first time living by myself, and at first I didn't like it. From 22 to 20, maybe 21 to 24, 25, I remember living by myself, and I didn't like it at first. It was kind of lonely, but then eventually I would just sit there and I'd be thinking. I'd be staring at the walls, thinking about life, and I remember thinking, gosh, there are a lot of things you figure out about life when you're just sitting by yourself that you never would have figured out if you were busy just talking to other people. And so some people are so wrapped up in talking to other people and being around other people and being affected by what other people do, reacting to what other people do and say, that they never get a chance to know who they are. They never get a chance to understand life. And I remember thinking, it would be really cool if one day I could get people to listen to me so I could share with them all this stuff that I'm figuring out. This was when I was 23, 24 years old. So I'm 44 now. So imagine how much more I figured out since then. And so I encourage anybody, to, if you really want to find your purpose in life, just think, sit and think. Find your quiet space, your quiet time, and just sit and just think about everything. Your past, present, your future, your goals, your relatives. Think about their past, present, and future. Think about politics. Think about the world. Have conversations with people that are thoughtful. Spend more time doing that than just the silly stuff. Because what you'll figure out too is that a lot of people just do stuff because everybody else is doing it. They don't really know who they are because they're letting everyone else tell them who they are. Don't let other people tell you who you are. You figure out who you are, and that person is deep down inside. So I would just say that when I go out, when I'm doing this here, it's sort of like it's just me and you. We're just talking, and I'll see a number, and a number will say, "Oh, 100,000 people watch this video," or whatever, and it doesn't register. It's like, "Oh, okay, well that's cool." But then when you go out and you see real people, and it's, there's this line going out the door, and each person is like, saying these amazing things, it hits you. It really does. It hits me. It's like, oh, wow, this is, oh, great. And it's, and also I consider it to be an honor, and I'm definitely humbled by it, but I also take it very, very seriously. Whenever someone says something like, Dr. Boyce, you're influencing a lot of people, I think about that very deeply because with any kind of influence, there's a responsibility for that, and I think that any of you who, as you work hard to achieve your goals and you want to become successful, maybe you want to make some money, maybe you want to build, the business that you're going to pass to your children, or you just want to become somebody, whatever that means. Make sure you figure out what that means to become somebody, and what opportunity that is to help other people. And also, make sure you are able to strip yourself of all of the shortcomings we have as human beings, because a lot of times when you get any kind of money, power, influence, or anything, there's a lot of temptation that comes with that. There are a lot of distractions that come with that. There's a lot of selfishness you're encouraged to pursue. Like, people make you think you're supposed to be in it for the money, or you're supposed to just take care of you, or that you're better than other people, or that whatever, or that's just all about you, and that's not the case. I mean, at the end of the day, If you fall into that trap, what'll happen is you'll get a lot of influence, but you won't do nothing with it. That's why you look in Hollywood, you see a whole lot of celebrities and famous people that ain't doing nothing for the world. I mean, I look around. I mean, I have a few 100,000 like fans on Facebook and stuff like that, and I see that as an opportunity to teach, to lift, to build, to motivate, support, all these things. I'm thinking, wow, okay, we've got 10,000 more people, this week. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can push them and support them. And then I'll see some celebrity who has like 10 million Facebook fans, and they won't be talking about shit. I mean, they'll be doing comedy. Like, ooh, look at me, I'm cooning. I'm like, what the hell? Like, it makes me so mad. Like, I'm sorry. I don't think, I don't think that black people are supposed to use our influence just to engage in more coonery. Like, what benefit to the world are you really giving to anybody? I mean, I understand people like to laugh. I laugh too. I watch South Park, but I just look at this and I just think, what a waste. What a waste. I mean, you got 10 million Facebook fans, and all you can do is share a meme or an image of some lady having sex with a dog, or some ratchet stuff, whatever. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And so I just say, here's the thing. This applies to everybody, not just people who have millions of Facebook fans. Everybody has some kind of influence. If you're a parent, you've got little kids looking at you saying, "Mama, now what we doing, Mama? What's up, Mama?" And they're looking at you like, "Okay, guide me. Tell me who I am. Tell me what I'm supposed to do with my life." Well, that's your influence. And the thing is that a person you influence, they influence other people based on the influence you gave to them. You really have the ability to not just break cycles, but you also have the ability to create cycles. So, what I find is as well is that when you create enough cycles, and that influence and that impact is strong enough, that really is your key to immortality. Because the multiplier effect, the fact that you influence 20 people, those 20 people influence 20 more people, and those 20 people influence 20 more people, that literally allows you to impact the world across space and time in a way that you can never do if all you know how to think about is yourself, or think about the car you got in your driveway, or the house that you live in. So just think bigger than that, think deeper than that, and don't fall for this nonsense that you see. I mean, unfortunately, so many black people, we've been so brainwashed, and we have so many people. I was just listening to the radio the other day, and I was, I'm not gonna say which station it was, but I was listening to this host, and all he was doing was just, it was like cracking one joke after another, and getting into stereotypical kind of stuff, and I was like, man, this person can influence so many people, but he's literally giving them nothing. He's giving them nothing that's going to make their lives better at the end of the day. He's only maybe giving them, some psychological medication, so maybe they'll laugh from the joke in order to avoid the pain of what they're going to feel when they look at how miserable some of their lives can be. And I just don't think that that's benefiting anybody. But I didn't mean to go on that little rant. I hope that this was helpful information. This was just me talking based on what's on my mind. So anyway, I'm gonna shut my mouth and get on out of here and get back to work. And I want to say, thanks to everybody. And if you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on out to King Solomon Baptist Church, 1620 Anderson Street. There's a lot more fighting to do with this Olu Stevens situation, and I can tell you this: I think that they are the powers that be. I think they're really kind of shaken by this, and I think that what they're realizing is that we're in a new day in Black America. It's not a time where only white people control media. Just the way I'm talking to you, this is a form of media, and I'm reaching hundreds of thousands of you every single week, every single day, whatever. And so, as media has become more democratized, black people are able to talk to each other in a seamless fashion without going through their oppressor in order to communicate. That is huge. That is a game changer. And what it's done is it's not just allow black people to share information. It's actually allowed us to come up with more sustained, more impactful ways to rally together and support each other and stuff like that. And that's a scary thing for anybody who's committed to white supremacy. So let's go do it. Let's get it done. This is our opportunity to make the world better for our kids and grandkids. All right, everybody. I'm about to get out of here. You guys take care. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.